Hi, this is Mrs. Hudson. I've talked you through the 5 questions which are on the board, so we'll continue on with our lesson on World War I recruitment today. So, we're looking at this question at the top. How did Britain make sure its army was big enough during World War I? And what I'd like you to do is study the image to the left and consider these 3 questions. What can you see? Why do you think this was produced or made? And how do you think it made people feel about joining up to the army? If you can pause the video here for about 3 minutes just to answer those questions. Okay, so this is a propaganda poster and it was released in 1914, and the dates are going to be really important when we think about recruitment posters and methods. It shows Lord Kitchener, you might recognise him, might recognise the moustache, Secretary of State for War. And it was because of recruitment posters like this they helped to bring more than 1 million men into the army in 1914. So in this poster we can see him pointing directly. Now if you were walking past this poster it would look like he was directly pointing at you, and this is further emphasised by the words "you" in large letters, making it very clear that this applied to every man of fighting age. And it did persuade people. This was a massive pull, that sense of you were needed at this time and the country was relying on you. So, quick thought, is this poster a push factor, something that's going to make you want to kind of go there because something bad is happening? Or is it pull, you want to join up to the army because you're needed or something good might come out of it? So push are bad things, pull are good things. Okay, just jot your answer down for me, whether you're doing it on paper or a Word document, as everything needs to be uploaded to Teams at the end of the lesson. Okay, hopefully you've realised that this is a pull poster. It's not showing you any bad effects in this poster. So for example, it's not talking to you about children being harmed or buildings being damaged. This is about a sense of kind of pride, and it's applying to you, or it's kind of wanting you to think about your patriotism, your love for your country. So we are working towards answering a how useful question, which is not something that you've done that much yet, but this will be a key focus through this half term and into next, and it's a key GCSE skill. You will have used sources before, but you'll have used them more to do basic inferences with some source utility, and we're going to really focus on this skill in Year 9. So our question is, how useful is source A to an historian studying recruitment during the First World War? Okay, and our key word for this lesson is going to be propaganda, a word that we have come across before. And this is the use of posters and other methods to present information used to promote and convince a particular point of view. And propaganda was used by both sides during the war. It was used by England, it was used by Germany. In fact, it was used by every single country, not just the 2 main ones. So this picture was taken outside Buckingham Palace when war was announced in 1914. And I want you just to jot down your initial thoughts. What do you notice is happening and why do you think this might be? Pause the video here for about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so we could see that there was a great crowd in the last picture, just as there is in this kind of picture here, okay, which is taken in Munich. Okay, so it's obviously getting the public's interest at this point. There's someone circled in that picture who we're going to talk about quite a lot this year. I'll leave you for a minute to try and work out who that is. And the question I want you just to answer now is, why do you think both countries are reacting in this way? These questions that we are thinking about today will lead to the start of our next lesson, so be prepared to discuss them then. Okay, just in case you weren't sure who that man was, that is Hitler. But can you see he's just an ordinary man during this war. It is not until World War II that he becomes leader, but what happens to him in World War I will affect his rise to power and his actions that he takes. Okay, I always think it's quite interesting that he was there on this day, and we've managed to find a photograph of him. So when war broke out, I've got my first mistake, in 1914 that should say, the government asked for volunteers between the ages of 19 and 13 to join up. A wave of patriotism and excitement swept the country, and by September 1914, 736,000 had joined up. By 1916, 2.5 million had done so. And if you think back to our figures about the size of the British Army, in 1914, this was really important because the British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, was only about 700,000 people. So it was crucial that the British government managed to get as many people to sign up as quickly as possible. So how many reasons can you think as to why men would want to sign up in 1914? Can you create a mind map, just like you can see in the image there to the left? And can you complete your mind map with as many reasons as you can think of? Spend about 45 minutes on this task. Okay, and here's some of the reasons that you might have thought of. So please mark your own work and add in any that you have missed, because remember, we'll keep coming backwards and forwards to our notes. So why did men want to fight? Well, first of all, they hated the Germans and they believed in what they were fighting for. This idea is going to grow during the war as more and more men get injured and they see the Germans as the people who are obviously causing this damage. There was patriotism. They believed that there was a big duty and honour to fight for your country. A sense of adventure. You were going to get to go to exotic places. Okay, not all the fighting happened in France. You could have been sent to Greece, to Egypt. We've got to remember that people in 1914 probably often didn't travel that far away from where they lived. They didn't have the money to. They wouldn't have gone on holidays to foreign countries. So this was a real opportunity for some people. They also thought the war would be over by Christmas. This is about early on, we're looking about September time. Okay, they thought it would be a quick victory. This is because previous wars had lasted a matter of months, okay, not years. But because of the changes in technology, etc., this war is going to last a lot longer. Propaganda was having an effect, so the posters, the leaflets, the talk from other people was all having that kind of effect. And that led to social pressure. If you didn't join up and you were fighting age and it wasn't sure, or people weren't sure why you weren't joining up, you could often be given a white feather. And this was a great sense of shame because someone was accusing you of being a coward. Why should other men of your age go and fight and you weren't? And money. This is a key one here, really. Army wages were higher than unskilled wages. So for those working in factories, it was a chance to go and earn some more money. Okay, great thing when you're thinking that they thought it would be a few months, you might get to go to a different place. Now, the reasons why people joined up are going to change throughout the war, and that's one of the key focuses we're going to have today. So when the war broke out, the government knew that it needed people to support the war, so a huge propaganda campaign was launched throughout the country. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to, well, I probably have already done it, but I'll have put the link to this video into chat. You need to watch the first approximately 3 minutes of the video. Okay, and then after that, I'd like you to discuss the questions below or answer them on your piece of paper. The government controlled all information about the war and only sent messages out that people wanted to hear. Why would they do this? British soldiers were always shown as heroes, while the Germans were always villains. Why? As we can see in this poster here, we've got Germany represented by an ape and the words "destroy this mad brute." Okay, England is likely to be this kind of damsel in distress here. The government printed millions of posters to either make people feel proud to go to war, which is a pull factor, or feel guilty for not wanting to go, push factor. So spend about 5 minutes answering the 2 questions in red before moving on to the next task. You can pause the video here. Okay, there's another video to watch, which I will have put in your chat box for you to click on and have a look. And what I'd like you to do, there's a worksheet here, there's 3 stages of volunteering. So there's that initial stage of volunteering, and that's kind of like that crowd. Think about that crowd that was outside Buckingham Palace. They're the kind of people who would probably have been signing up for this war, and we've explained some of the reasons why. But the methods changed as the war progressed. As more deaths became known, as the horror of the war became known, the government had to change its tactics. So the middle stage was something called the Derby scheme, and then at the end you had the Military Services Act conscription. So I'd like you to make notes using the information on the following pages, which I'll click onto shortly, and then I'd like you to explain why the methods of recruitment had to change over time. What would have happened if the government had not changed recruitment methods? Once you have completed this sheet, feel free to kind of write it just on a piece of paper or just make notes on a Word document. It doesn't have to be on this worksheet here at all. Please make sure that everything is completed and handed into Teams into the folder which is World War I recruitment. So here's the sheet a little bit bigger if you want to copy it out. And as you can see on the next few slides is the information. Feel free to pause it so that you can read it at any point. The first page is about the PALS battalions, so you're going to be looking at the volunteering box here. That's continued onto this sheet, showing the Sheffield PALS battalions there. You've then got a smaller amount for the Derby scheme and a smaller amount for the Military Services Act. So as I said before, please make sure that everything is uploaded to Teams before the end of the lesson.